A wife arrested, accused of poisoning her husband with
the eye drop.
The eye drop.
Bottle could be a murder weapon.
Absolutely.
In a wealthy neighborhood near Lake Wylie, South Carolina, a shocking event unfolded. Lana Clayton discovered her husband's lifeless body at the foot of their staircase. When medical experts concluded he died from heart problems, Lana quickly agreed and arranged for his cremation. However, some relatives weren't convinced by this explanation. On a busy summer afternoon in 2018, a motorcyclist named James was riding through the area when he noticed a distressed woman signaling for help. She explained that her spouse had fallen down the stairs and asked him to contact emergency services. While James was on the phone, the woman rushed to a nearby house. The neighbor, Terry, answered his door to find Lana Clayton, who told him about her husband's accident. The situation took a dark turn when Terry and Lana hurried back to the Clayton residence. Oddly, Lana chose to wait outside while Terry entered the house. James, still on the line with emergency services, found this behavior suspicious. Inside, Terry discovered Steve Clayton's motionless body at the base of the staircase. Despite his efforts, he couldn't detect a pulse. Steve Clayton was gone. The couple's history was as intriguing as it was tragic. Steve and Lana's romance began in the digital world in 2010, blossoming into marriage after 3 years. For Lana, this was her second walk down the aisle. Steve, on the other hand, had a long history of failed marriages, so many that his family had lost count, estimating it to be his 6th or 7th. Those close to him described Steve as a man quick to fall in love, but whose relationships rarely stood the test of time. Steve's life story was one of ambition and success. Hailing from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, he put himself through college, juggling construction work with his accounting studies at Florida State University. After working as a CPA, Steve's entrepreneurial spirit led him to establish a thriving physical therapy business in the 1980s. His venture was so successful that it allowed him to retire at the remarkably young age of 40. Lana's background contrasted sharply with Steve's. Originally from Oklahoma, she worked as a nurse at Charlotte's VA hospital. Unlike Steve's multiple marriages, this was only Lana's second. She had children from her previous relationship, but she and Steve never had kids together. In fact, Steve had never fathered any children. After their wedding, the couple settled into a luxurious lakefront property in South Carolina, valued at around $1 million. Their home was no ordinary house. It was said to be a replica of George Washington's famous Mount Vernon estate. When law enforcement arrived at the scene, Lana painted a picture of the events leading up to the tragedy. She claimed Steve had been struggling with vertigo for several days. According to her account, she had checked on him around 11 a.m., ensuring he had water before she went outside to mow the lawn. Upon returning to the house, she said she found Steve lying motionless at the foot of the stairs, prompting her desperate search for help. The family's shock was palpable. Steve's nephew, Nick French, a police officer in a nearby town, rushed to the scene upon hearing the devastating news. As the authorities conducted their initial investigation, Nick stayed by Lana's side, offering comfort to his seemingly grieving aunt. The arrival of the deputy coroner seemed to bring a quick resolution to the case. After a brief examination, she concluded there was nothing suspicious about Steve's death, suggesting a heart attack as the likely cause. With the death ruled as natural, the focus shifted to funeral arrangements. Typically, in cases without suspicion, bodies aren't taken for autopsy but are instead released directly to funeral homes. When asked about her preferred funeral home, Lana appeared overwhelmed, claiming she couldn't think straight. The deputy coroner, sensing her distress, offered to take the body for additional tests, a suggestion that Mick, with his law enforcement background, fully supported. However, Lana's reaction to this proposal raised eyebrows. She suddenly became decisive, insisting that Steve's body be taken to the nearby funeral home immediately. More alarmingly, she expressed a desire for immediate cremation. Mick's police instincts kicked in. As he walked through the house, he began to notice details that didn't quite add up. Despite multiple phones in the house, Lana had run outside to call for help. Strangely, no one had seen her perform CPR on Steve, an odd oversight for an experienced nurse. Steve's cell phone was mysteriously absent, unusual for a man known to be constantly reachable. Steve's sister, Rosie, revealed she hadn't heard from him in 3 days. Out of character, even if he were ill. Upstairs, Mick found Steve's bed soaked in urine, suggesting he had been neglected for days. The situation took another turn when Chris, another nephew, mentioned Steve's will. Lana claimed there wasn't one, but Chris insisted he'd seen it and was named executor. This disagreement led to a heated exchange. Most alarmingly, Nick overheard Lana in the kitchen, telling others that Steve was a drug user and expressing fear about what an autopsy might reveal. Lana's behavior grew increasingly suspicious. She abruptly asked everyone to leave and cancelled plans for their return the next day. Alarmed, Nick and Chris realized they needed to act quickly to prevent the imminent cremation and secure an autopsy. Their urgent plea to the coroner paid off. The autopsy revealed no signs of a heart attack or any obvious cause of death. However, the toxicology report uncovered a shocking truth. Steve's system contained high levels of tetrahydrozoline, a common ingredient in over-the-counter eye drops.
Drozoline is the common ingredient in Visine,
The eye drop.
the eye drop.
While it is safe for normal use, tetrahydrozoline can be lethal if ingested. Known in criminal circles as THZ, it's sometimes used to incapacitate victims due to its drowsiness-inducing effects when consumed. Its colorless, odorless, and tasteless nature makes it a perfect tool for foul play. The investigation took a darker turn as the full effects of tetrahydrozoline came to light. Ingesting larger amounts can cause severe illness and, in extreme cases, death. When confronted, Lana's explanation was bizarre. She claimed Steve added eye drops to his coffee as a laxative. This far-fetched story immediately raised red flags. Not only would this not work as intended, but it was also implausible that Steve, an intelligent man, would knowingly poison himself. Lana's knowledge of the substance further incriminated her. When told about the tetrahydrozoline, she instantly identified it as Visine, revealing her familiarity with the chemical. As pressure mounted, Lana's story shifted dramatically. She began to paint Steve as troubled, even suggesting suicide. However, investigators found no evidence to support this claim. During questioning at her home, Lana's narrative took another unexpected turn. She described the bedside table where she kept Steve's belongings, setting the stage for a new, unsettling version of events. She admitted to squirting an entire bottle of Visine into Steve's drink, an amount that would have been fatal. Her motive, pure anger and frustration with his constant demands for care. "What if I did kill him?" she asked, her story unraveling. Lana claimed she only wanted to make Steve suffer, to give him diarrhea and make his life miserable, but the lethal dose suggested a far more sinister intent. The investigation uncovered more disturbing details. Steve's will, which would have distributed his assets among family members, was missing. Evidence of burned paperwork on the property hinted at a cover-up, leaving Lana as the sole beneficiary. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. This wasn't Lana's first attempt on Steve's life. In 2016, she shot him in the head with a crossbow while he was sleeping. Somehow, Steve had survived this earlier accident. The crossbow incident in 2016 took on a sinister new light. Lana had claimed it was an accident while seeking Steve's help with a jammed weapon. Despite the improbable nature of her story, authorities closed the case after brief interviews. Following her confession about the eye drops, Lana made a desperate move. She penned a suicide note expressing remorse for poisoning Steve and attempted to take her own life with pills and gas. A vigilant neighbor's intervention thwarted her plan, leading to her arrest after a brief hospital stay. Prosecutor Kevin Brackett uncovered a potential motive: money. In 2016, Lana convinced Steve to move to South Carolina, where laws favored her inheritance if Steve died without a will. The investigation revealed a carefully orchestrated plan. Lana's insistence on the absence of a will and her neighbor's reports of her burning items in a fire pit the day after Steve's death pointed to deliberate evidence of destruction. The timeline of Steve's poisoning didn't align with Lana's story. The amount of tetrahydrozoline in his system suggested a prolonged, calculated dosing over 3 days, rather than a single impulsive act. Authorities believe she incapacitated Steve with smaller doses before administering lethal amounts. Steve's missing phone became another piece of the puzzle, likely disposed of to prevent him from calling for help. As the case progressed, Lana's story shifted again. She now claimed Steve was abusive, painting herself as a victim seeking punishment, not death. She even reframed the crossbow incident as self-defense. In a final attempt to minimize her actions, Lana stated, "My only knowledge of the zine was from movies. I impulsively put it in Steven's drink to make him sick and uncomfortable." Lana's final plea for sympathy rang hollow. She claimed ignorance of the zine's lethal potential and painted herself as a victim of abuse. However, her story of self-defense during the crossbow incident defied logic. How How could she shoot Steve in the back of the head if he was attacking her? Investigators found no evidence of Steve's alleged abuse. While the absence of proof doesn't disprove abuse, the lack of corroboration from Steve's past partners cast doubt on Lana's claims. In a bizarre twist, just weeks after Lana's arrest, a similar case unfolded nearby. Stacy Hunsucker, a woman with known heart problems, died suddenly in Mount Holly, North Carolina. Her husband Joshua raised suspicions by attempting to claim a large life insurance payout mere days after her death. It was also revealed that Joshua had been unfaithful prior to Stacy's passing. Authorities' attempts to investigate further were thwarted. Stacy's body had already been cremated, eliminating the possibility of toxicology tests. Investigators theorized that Joshua had copied Lana Clayton's method, having learned of it from media coverage. This copycat angle added a surreal dimension to the case, leaving many to wonder about the logic behind mimicking a failed murder plot. As Joshua awaited trial on multiple charges, Lana Clayton's case reached its conclusion. Faced with the possibility of the death penalty, she accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter and tampering with food or drugs. Lana received a 25-year prison sentence. The prosecutor, reflecting on the case, remarked on its unprecedented bizarreness, highlighting the cruelty of Steve's 3-day suffering before death. And there you have it, fellow sleuths. Another baffling case unraveled. The Clayton and Hunsucker cases remind us that truth can indeed be stranger than fiction. If you're as fascinated by these intricate true crime stories as we are, make sure you're part of our growing community of secret sleuths. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on our latest investigations. Remember, every like, comment, and share helps us reach more curious minds like yours. Have a case you'd like us to cover? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your mind sharp. This is Secret Sleuths, where we uncover the truth, one mystery at a time.